Well. It's Tuesday, December 10th. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Audible channel with the Football Guys YouTube place, and it's time to go on the hot seat. But first, footballguys.com, that's your website. Go there. There's all kinds of good information waiting for you. I appreciate you joining me here every Tuesday for this very show, and Saturdays for the Ask Me Anything live stream. It's fantastic as well. I have it on good authority, and I'm the authority. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. Everyone here has done all the YouTube stuff, so like us, dislike us, and us. This week, another great guest, as always. Another newcomer to the Football Guys family, Mike Kashuba. Thank you for coming on. You know him from the Twitter device at FF Mike Cash. So good to have you aboard. Mike, tell us hello and a little bit about yourself, sir.
Yeah, beyond to be on the show. I've been listening to this for a while. It's crazy, starting new at Football Guys. I was telling Bob a little before this, I'm just kind of starstruck being able to chat with you. So let's find some people some waiver wire options that are going to win in their leagues.
Yeah, and Lester will tell you there's no strucking allowed, or Dame, or Scampers, or any of the usual crew. Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate y'all showing up. As always, we're getting down to the serious business here of playoff stuff. So I know many of you will be taking this very seriously. We know this is a weird time for us, Mike, where there are fewer people looking, but the people who are looking, it matters about 5 times more, right? Because it's very important stuff. And we get that. So we're here for you. And we're going to start out at the quarterback position. As always, as we go through these, I'll get to your questions as we chop things up. We'll do it kind of by position like we always do. We'll start at the quarterback. And we're basing this on Sigmund Bloom's Waiver Wire Week 15 Waiver Wire article. It's a slim article. We've got our own picks too, but we like to do Bloom stuff. So go read that article completely free at footballguys.com. You're going to love it because it's Sigmund Bloom's. Everyone loves Bloom, even you. So we're starting out with Aaron Rodgers, but not everyone loves Aaron Rodgers, Mike. Where are you at on him?
No, I think if you want to watch the documentary for him, that's great. I think that's the only reason he's playing football right now. He needs to get a couple of wins for the publicity, but listen, it's easy on paper. You look at it, he's the best matchup of the week. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars with a backup quarterback. If maybe you've been using Justin Herbert and Herbert can't go, if you were riding the Derek Carr train again, yes, you can use him. Low-end QB1, best case scenario.
Yeah, I think, but I will say this. I thought last week, and I tend to be overly aggressive about matchups. We're sitting here talking about them. We live in these matchups. You're writing them up. You see something super favorable, you go for it. I thought Will Levis was in a good place last week for this very reason, right? Here we go, going up against yes, everyone loves the mustache. It is pretty glorious. So the matchup is fantastic, but it's also a really good running matchup. We're going to talk about the backfield here in a minute. So it could go either way. So when you're acquiring free agent this time of year, you're probably thinking that you're going to need him for a 1-game chance. But if something happens, it might be multiple games. You look at the schedule going ahead. It's not bad the week after, but then it's the Rams next after in week 16 and the Bills in week 17. How do you feel about those matchups?
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has the mobility to get away from Jared Verse anymore. Maybe 2012 he did, but these days, if he's going against the Rams, he's going to struggle. If he's going against the Bills, let's say it's a bad weather game, there's a couple of chances where things could go very off the rails. So Rodgers is not a stash and hold. He's a grab, play him this week if you really need to.
Right. And so how much attention are you paying to that if you're if you've held on to your fab money right now, you're ready to blow it all, right? Is this the kind of player that you can blow it on knowing, are you ready to blow it, not just Rodgers, but any player, blowing it, knowing it's going to be a 1-night stand?
Once you're in the playoffs, if you need a guy, don't even think about next week. You need to win this week. So Aaron Rodgers is the difference between winning and losing your matchup this week. Blow it all. Don't save it. I think we're going to get into that with some of the running backs. Not blowing it on Aaron Rodgers. I think there's a couple of guys in the same tier you could probably use it on.
Yeah, the running backs are going to be phenomenal. We'll talk about it. So someone has an issue, maybe a quarterback want to make a speculative play. How are you about making speculative plays this time of year? Is it you're working on a high wire without a net here if you're doing this, right?
No, I definitely get where he's coming from. Fred Warner, he hasn't been putting together the tackle numbers that you expect with his name. And listen, I don't know if you guys have watched a Falcons game. You shouldn't unless you're a Falcons fan. It hasn't been pretty. So I love doing that in a super flex league. Go get a quarterback for free now. Maybe you get an option, but one quarterback, just roll with Warner.
Yeah, I think that's going a step too far. We don't know what Michael Penix would look like. We know what the Falcons' offenses look like with Kirk Cousins. It could look just the same with Michael Penix. Although I'm really excited for his future. I know our colleague Matt Waldman is really excited for his future. He would love to see it start early. Matt and I were talking about Cousins this week, and like obviously it's been a 4-game stretch and can't get the touchdowns, can't get damn thing but interceptions. When you watch him, what do you see?
I see somebody that's coming off an Achilles tear and is 36 years old. Like, he doesn't have the same zip. He doesn't have the same power. He can't trust himself, whether in the pocket or planting to make throws. So ball's sailing on him a little bit, which is fine at the college level. It's fine when your receivers are wide open, but he has 2 contested catch guys in Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Like, you can't be sailing those, and it's not going great.
Is this something you're going to like every year I try to take away lessons and try to be more mindful of things. And I feel like I totally forget them all as I start drafting again and make the same stupid mistakes. But players coming back from injuries, older players, let's look at Rodgers. I mean, so let me get like with Aaron Rodgers, is it possible this is the dip in the career arc, and when he ends up in Minnesota next year, it's going to be a great finish like Brett Favre? Or
that's perfect,
right? But is it possible? Like we saw it last year with Tony Pollard coming back from the fracture he suffered in January. He said he wasn't good until like week 10. We've seen it with Kyle Pitts. He's still not good, and it's been 2 years, right? Like, so is it possible we're not putting enough emphasis on people recovering from injuries, or especially taking into account the older guys coming back from injuries?
Yes. I think younger players, you can maybe give them a little more benefit of the doubt. Although I say that Jonathan Brooks in his first game back, re-tears an ACL, second game back, but
third.
I think older players, it takes them a little longer to get back. You need to give them, you want the year after the injury. So I don't know if I'm ever going to draft a quarterback coming off of an Achilles tear again, because I'm always drafting the guys that are running around, and you're not getting a lot of running around after an Achilles tear. So let's be a little more cautious. Let's take different targets at ADP.
How do you feel about something we do this time of year? Like, one of the first things I'll do after the season is make a list of players who disappointed me and other people, so that I can reap that value, because I'm such a cheapskate. And I feel like, all the Anthony Richardson shares I have this year are going to pale in comparison to all the 5th round shares I have this year are going to pale in comparison to the 11th round shares I get next year.
I can't quit Anthony Richardson. He was one of the first scouting reports I ever wrote. Like, I said that he could throw a strawberry through a battleship. Like, the tools are there. That is a truly supreme athlete with all of the arm talent in the world. He just needs some time. Like, Dylan Gabriel has 63 college starts. I think Anthony Richardson has less than that going back to high school. Like, let's give him a little time. Put him back in the slow cooker. Put it on low. Just give it some time.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Colts feel the same about that. We'll find out what Bob Irsay thinks of the progress he's making. I think they have the great coach to do it. I love Shane Steichen. The fact that he's done it with 2 different kinds of quarterbacks, the thrower with Justin Herbert, and more of the runner who can throw. I know I'm not being horrible to Jalen. Although AJ Brown might have words about this.
Oh, yeah.
AJ Brown. Little talk today. Kellen Moore saying they're going to work to get the ball to AJ Brown a little more. Had Brandon Graham come out and say, oh, well, they're not as close off the field. Speaking of Brown and Hurst, you make anything of this, or is this just an offense that said, oh, wow, look, we got a Saquon Barkley. Let's just use the heck out of him?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a squeaky wheel narrative in DFS lineups, or whenever you're trying to make start-sit decisions. I know it's going to be a tough matchup against Pittsburgh, but I'm going to just start AJ Brown with confidence everywhere, and buy him on DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever you're at.
Yeah, I think we sometimes get the narrative game we're all looking for. This may well be it when Kellen Moore is talking about it. It's true. So we'll go back to, there's a couple quarterbacks you and I like that aren't on Sigmund Bloom's list. Let's just kind of visit those guys quickly. Yeah. And I didn't even, you brought up what? So you brought up Jameis Winston, which is the best choice of anybody, right? And here's why. Every game, 40-plus pass attempts except one so far in his return in the 6 games as a starter. I like Bryce Young. I don't like him, but if you were in a bind,
yes,
you could like him. You could come to like him. I think he's getting better. Talk about your expectations. I think Winston down the stretch, the schedule is not. I think there's a couple good games. What did I see? Where's he at on that?
So the Browns coming up. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. They have the Chiefs this week, but then it's the Bengals next week. So maybe you're stashing him for that smash matchup. These the Dolphins, which their defense hasn't been great. The Ravens, who are giving up top half fantasy points to the quarterback position. Like there are opportunities for him to be very good. And even against the Chiefs this week, like he's praying for the Lord to deliver him from pick sixes. Like he's also just throwing so many passes that he's going to let a couple slip. So it's been the QB7 over the last month. I'm excited about him.
For me, the more pick sixes, the better, because the more he has to play catch up with the great Jerry Jeudy at the helm of this thing. And I have to say great because Mike Dempsey makes me say it now. Right, like I'm forced to like I'm big on Cedric Tillman. So you like Elijah Moore as well. I don't think we have him on our list, but if he was available in the league, would you be out there grabbing him just based on the volume of this passing attack?
Yeah, it depends on what you needed a wide receiver, what's going on there, but it's been a target roller coaster for him. Some weeks we're talking 11, 12, 13. Some weeks we're talking 4. So in a volume offense with Jameis Winston at the helm, like grab a piece, put it in, and just enjoy the ride.
Look, we got Royal Slayton out there wish casting his Patriots a new piece. Lester Freeman speaking the truth to all of us. AJ Brown complains, or he gets traded, one or the other. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I'm kind of with you. I think this could be a course correction game. We've got to get Saquon Barkley the rushing title, but that doesn't have to happen until week 18 in New York, right? I mean, that's that's got to happen against the Giants. The kid doesn't need to happen any sooner.
They don't want to. They don't want to do that too early because then it won't be as meaningful.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Bryce Young, the remaining schedule is the one that I find the more appealing. I think he's got the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the Buccaneers over the next 3 weeks. Does that, like, just in general, as you watch Bryce Young, one of the things that struck me, Mike, is the first year. He didn't, none of the things they sold me on. Everything Matt Waldman wrote about him, everyone, the fast processing, all the things, they all seem to take a backseat to the fact that he looked small and infantile. And I'm being mean spirited, but I mean, there was I hung everything on a photo from training camp of him standing behind his offensive line, looking like Lad McConkey in a basketball game, right? Just like, he just looked outmanned. And so you watch the performance. What was it? 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, or the other way around. Maybe I'm transposing that. But either way, it wasn't great. But this year it started out slow. But like, I think the last 3 games, I've seen what they were talking about. Started with the Chiefs when he was that fast processor. And he was working great against the blitz. And he was super effective. And he's doing all this without a great receiving core. No offense intended.
Yeah, I think this is another guy that just needed a little bit of time in the slow cooker. He took the 2 weeks off. Andy Dalton, hurt his wrist in a car accident. Now we're seeing all of that processing. The game has slowed down for him, which at Alabama, that's what he was resting his laurels on. He was a super fast processor. But then after the processing, he was a good enough athlete at the college level to get away with some of that magic in the pocket. He found out very quickly, maybe not quick enough, that he can't get away with that in the NFL. And now he's not relying on it anymore. He looks better.
How much credit should we give to Dave Canales, who this is his lane? We see that the 2022 comeback for Geno Smith with him as quarterback coach last year with Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay, where they had great weapons. I mean, that was a big part of it, but they didn't have a great running back, and he still leaned into the run. And I think that's one of the secrets to success. They rebuilt the middle of this offensive line. There's been some injuries, but Chuba Hubbard has come through as that rushing piece that's been super effective. How much of this do you give the credit to Dave Canales for?
I would say almost all of it. We talk about a quarterback's development, like some of it is nature, some of it is nurture. Like Bryce Young has the processing ability. He has the arm talent to make most of the throws. I think he's still he needs to get all of it in order to get that deep ball down. But as far as the system making it easier for him, making him understand when he's making a hot read, he throws it directly to this guy, rather than trying to process all of that ahead of time. It's been a great change of system for Bryce, and I'm excited about the future. For fantasy football, I see this question from Adam. Thank you for listening. There's better options.
There are.
But if there's not, like, he can probably squeeze out, mid-range QB2.
If you made it to your championship game in week 17, he's playing the Buccaneers, you have some hope, right? Like if that was your only option, if that was your pivot, like I would feel, wow, that's really fortuitous. I must have done something right. The karmic payback here that I'm having to play Bryce Young against the Buccaneers. Like I can't imagine, walking into a much better matchup. But Mike is right. And Mike, like what is the secret sauce here to not outsmarting yourself? Because we all get to this point. I know for me, well, once I hit the playoffs, once I hit the postseason, I'm playing my depth chart no matter what. Like the guys that are top. Like if I have Lamar Jackson
Yes.
and Jane Daniels, Lamar Jackson's playing every week. He's just ahead of him, right? I'm not going to sit here and try and parse out the matchups. Or if I have Josh Allen in the field, not named Lamar Jackson, it's going to be Josh Allen every week. Do you follow a similar approach, or are you paying some attention to the matchups beyond DFS? Because to me, that's where you play the matchups is DFS.
Yes.
Leave your season long alone.
All costs being the same. I'm just starting the guy. It's because there's two different ways that this goes. Either you go cute and it goes well, and then you don't even really remember that. Like, oh, I started Bryce Young over Josh Allen, and now like I won. Like, great story. Or you lose because you started Bryce Young over Josh. Think about how silly you're going to feel for a full year. So I would rather just start the guys that got me there, dance with the date that you brought, and just enjoy the playoffs as they come.
Yeah, I think the outsmarting ourselves is something we want to do, and it is part of the game, and we encourage people on this program, don't play my hunch, play your hunch. If you have a hunch on somebody and you come here and you ask me about it on the Saturday live stream or here, and you want to know if something's crazy, I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't do it, but maybe it is, or maybe it isn't crazy, whatever it is. But in the end, it's your call. And if it's your hunch and you had that hunch and you don't play your hunch, you'll feel silly too. But like Mike said, if you're playing Bryce over like Josh Allen, your odds are not great of feeling really good about this one.
And now that we say that, Josh Allen is going to have a down week and Bryce Young's going to be the QB1.
For sure. It's entirely possible. I love this game. It's an oblong spheroid, people. The ball bounces funny. That's just the starting point. The rest of it gets weirder from there. All right, so let's look at the running back position we've got from Bloom. Tank Bigsby coming off scored a touchdown, right? It seems like Travis Etienne is persona non grata. I don't know. Maybe it's just the offense is lousy. Something is not working for him. How do you see that? How do you see that backfield playing out as we go forward?
It's going to be the similar way that it's played out most of the season. Like Tank Bigsby's the lead back, and we can talk about draft capital. We can talk about opportunities. Like for some reason, Etienne has just taken a complete backseat to Tank whenever he's healthy. Etienne had more snaps in week 14, which is important to note, but Tank had more opportunities. He also had the goal line carries that turned into a touchdown. Like, if you want a guy that's going to get touches in this offense, it's Tank Bigsby. So I think Etienne he's just a landmine for people. We talk about starting at the top of your depth chart. Etienne should have moved down your depth chart by now.
So if you're sitting there and you're making decisions, you don't have both these guys. Let's say you have one or the other of them, and you're looking as you're heading into your playoff games. Are they flex level plays, or is Bigsby maybe even a running back two at a pinch, but ideally flex level? And we'll relegate Etienne to the what the heck flex level, or is he even that?
I think Etienne is always going to be a what the heck flex level because he's going to catch one pass that's going to turn into a 70-yard touchdown, and then I'm going to have first name, last name, bunch of numbers on Twitter being mad at me. But I think it's Tank Bigsby comfortably a flex with probably some RB2. I put touchdown dependent upside with Etienne as any play he could be the guy for a week.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And I like, a couple of things. Like I have a theory about not good offenses. I'm fine playing pieces of not good offenses, but I'm not mining. I'm skimming the surface. So right now, to me, the surface in Jacksonville is Brian Thomas Jr. Evan Ingram is the surface. I feel like I'm taking my chances when I dip into that backfield or even like Parker Washington. I mean, I think that's, it's a wish and a prayer kind of play.
It's fun though. Like Parker Washington's great to watch. Definitely you're starting Brian Thomas Jr. He's, I think, the wide receiver 9 or 10 on the season. Like there's a lot to like there.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Right. They're like, so I think whenever Mac Jones is playing, gives me some concern. I know he's got a nice audition to see if he can be a backup somewhere else in the future. And I'm sure he will be, but right now for my purposes, it's not great. But is that in general, like even when I'm drafting, like I'm looking at lousy offenses and I'm saying, okay, I can play that guy and that's about it. Right. Like, are you willing to dig deeper into some of those if you see a player that you think fits a profile you like, but you're not sure about the role or the offense, are you trying to avoid them? Or are you willing to dive in?
I think it depends on like what the roles are looking like. So let's take Las Vegas, for example. We're going to roll into that a little bit later. Like everyone was saying, oh, Zamir must be the guy. He has to be the guy. Like then he ended up not being the guy. And Alexander Madison had some runs of being exciting. Sincere McCormick is somebody that we're looking to. Like there are some murky situations where everybody goes ahead and they say, this guy is like, someone has to catch passes. Somebody has to run the ball. Somebody is going to score points. But sometimes everybody picks the wrong person. So if there's somebody else that I'm excited about, I'll start looking that way. But you're not expecting a lot of touchdowns out of this offense, and somebody's going to need a touchdown to be relevant.
Antonio Pierce has the thing about young running backs late in the season. He has a magical way of turning Zamir White into somebody we all want to draft the next year. Is he doing the same thing with Sincere McCormick?
On purpose? Maybe. But he's coaching for his life right now. Like, if he continues to lose games, doesn't show that he's building a culture, like, he needs to do something. He's playing with a super backup quarterback. I think Desmond Ridder is the starter this week.
Desmond Ridder will be. Not on our list of quarterbacks.
No, I would not play him in any circumstance. But if he needs to win this game, Sincere McCormick looks like he has the most juice in his backfield right now. Like, he didn't look bad. And that's behind a pretty rough Raiders team. So I think he's going to make Sincere McCormick a name that I remember that I don't intend to. Yeah,
Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons, we will see him be sincere again. Just in general, like, we're playing Desmond Ridder. What does that do? Like, I don't think you're benching Brock Bowers, although Michael Mayer comes in and gets a lot of work. I don't know. Does Jacoby Meyer qualify for that same level of, like, semi-quarterback proofness?
Yeah, I think Jacoby Myers is going to have to take a dip down in our rankings. We saw this in Atlanta last year, or not Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta. Desmond Ridder comes in, and we're all excited about Drake London. We're all excited about Kyle Pitts. And those are supremely talented players. Say what you will about Kyle Pitts. And he tanked the entire offense to a point of not being able to watch and enjoy. So I'm not starting Ridder. I'm not starting Myers. I'm starting Bowers because I have to. But otherwise, you just want to stay in the backfield with Sincere McCormick.
Look, I bought a lot of Zamir White, but I wasn't paying first-round prices, man. That's
tough.
That was not a fair deal. Here's a running backs question while we're on the running backs. Needs to cut 3 for new additions. Chubb, Bigsby, Braylon Allen, Kendre Miller. We're going to talk about Isaiah Davis, or we can kind of work that into the conversation here. Trey Benson, Blake Corum, and Ray Davis. Who's going first, second, and third in Mike Cash land?
Yeah, I would cut. So this is what's tough about this time of year, because you want to hold all of these backup running backs in case something happens. For sure. So really, we're predicting, does this guy have opportunities outside of injury that you would keep them with? Because we're not going to try to predict injuries here. So Corum, not useful unless Kyron explodes. Ray Davis, not necessarily that useful that you're going to be able to predict when you can play with him. So it's Corum first, Davis second. And as much as it pains my soul, it's probably Trey Benson third. I really loved him pre-draft, but it's the James Conner show in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm probably like, it's for me, it's between him and Kendre Miller. Like, like we saw Miller come in. Like, apparently Darren Rizzi does not share the same issues with Kendre Miller that Dennis Allen did. And like, I get it. Dennis Allen really got a red eye going for him, man. Just like, when you're calling out players' availability and doing the old cliches, can't make the team of the tub. And then what we saw after that. So let's talk a little bit about the Jets backfield here with, Isaiah Davis. So he had like 6 snaps all year until week 13, right? And then he comes in week 14, gets a nice workload as kind of the change of pace back. And then all of a sudden, now he's like in a timeshare with Braylon Allen. How do you feel about this going forward? Is what we saw a mirage, or is it persistent?
I think it's going to be persistent. I think Breece Hall has essentially no reason to be playing right now. Like last year, they were trying to give him all this workload in order to let him hit his milestones, make sure he gets all his little, helmet stickers, basically, because he wasn't playing for any structure, because you can't get structure on a rookie contract.
Right.
But this year, there's no reason. They're, I think, if not mathematically eliminated, like 99% not making the playoffs. So this team is going to try and figure out what they have in these young players. And you can't do that with them on the sideline. So I think it's going to be Braylon Allen in the 60% share, and then Isaiah Davis in a 40% share, which is gross for fantasy because the offense stinks. But Davis catches a little more passes.
Like,
I know that he did this last week, but skill set.
In a vacuum, like, to me, Braylon Allen looked like he could be the real deal. Like, do you see it the same way, or like, it makes me wonder, like, Isaiah Davis comes out of nowhere and does some nice things. Is he like the shiny object that we shouldn't be paying attention to, and we should really just focus on Braylon Allen? Or is there just it's just the circumstances are dictating he's going to be a thing?
I think circumstances are dictating that both of these guys are going to have appeal, whether in DFS leagues or deep leagues where you need like an RB3, RB4, your flexes are super deep. But just a quick reminder for people at home, Braylon Allen cannot legally drink yet. He is turning 21 on January 20th, so he is still an ascending player, dominated the Big Ten for years. I really loved Braylon Allen pre-draft, so I think if one of these players continues to rise, it's going to be Braylon Allen as he adjusts to the NFL level.
This is a true story. The Jets are a mess. And so like, I'm kind of with you. Like, I think hopefully I'm not in a place where I have to play either of them. And this is the thing about cutting these players is it's something Mike mentioned. It's just like, letting go of a guy. So on that list of players that we were talking about letting go, I wouldn't let go any of them if I had the starter, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I had, Connor, I'm not letting go of Benson. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a fair way to do it. So you don't get stuck with that. Do you think Vidal, look, I'm going to recuse myself from this one because I've been anti-Kamani Vidal. I just don't think he's a thing or he's going to be a thing at all. People still want him to be a thing. Mike, help this person out. Sorry, Andrew. No offense.
I should probably recuse myself as well. That one wheel route in training camp just really got everyone fired up. I don't think Kamani is going to be a thing. Like he had 8 carries and a single target that turned into 3 fantasy points. I think it's the Gus Edwards show. I think it's going to be just a tough slog between who is getting the touches in that offense. He doesn't excite me. He doesn't bring joy.
Right. So here's the thing. If you have a hunch about Kamani Vidal, I'm not here to destroy your hunch about Kamani Vidal, but that's all it is. It's like, it's your hunch. And it goes against mine. My bias was built in early, like this summer, talking to multiple beat writers who cover the Chargers. And one in particular, Joe Reedy from the Associated Press, like when I asked him, like, hey, well, the fantasy community, we're trying to make the Kamani Vidal thing. And he goes, so you get special teams points? It's like that was basically. And then it turns out he doesn't even play special teams. So that's kept Hassan Haskins active and him not. In games. So yeah, I might have a little bit of bias. Look, any running back can show up any damn week and do something, right? We all know that. So if you have this super strong feeling about Kamani Vidal, I think we've told you where we stand on it. If you stand differently, I wish you the best of luck, sir. Patrick Taylor Jr. in San Francisco, next man up. Isaac Guerrero did not practice again or wasn't scheduled to practice again today. Didn't practice yesterday. He seems optimistic. Kyle Shanahan does not. Patrick Taylor Jr. is next man up, but is he the right guy?
Yeah. We were talking about a 4.67 speed guy, so Kyle Shanahan already hates him. We're talking about a guy that was 5th on the depth chart this time. I mean, not this time last year, but after the draft. So you had Eli Mitchell in front of him, CMC, Guerrero. There's all of these names that were in front of him. He is truly the last human being that knows the playbook. And that is the only reason you would start him, is because he knows the playbook.
Is Israel Abanikanda the guy that is most likely to have a big game in this offense? They can build him a package because he's the closest thing to the other guys that have been successful there.
Yeah. So I'm actually writing an article about this for Football Guys this week. So it'll be part of the start sit, trying to sift through what the 49ers backfield like. Izzy's skill set fits way better into the 49ers offense. We're talking about a speed one cut back that can maybe bounce off of a tackle or two, but keep his speed at the same time. Maybe not this week because he's still young. I think they picked him up off the street a couple of weeks ago. Like, we're just trying to get this guy to learn which way to go in pass pro. But once he figures that out, if Guerrero misses the rest of the season, Izzy Abanikanda could end up being the guy that we want in weeks 16 and 17.
Here we go. Let's talk about the game. Chuck D on anyone. Okay. All right. So this, like the inactive thing for Vidal, like I think it's more about the numbers in the special teams. It's like Hassan Haskins was playing the special teams. So I don't want to cut, I don't want to, cast aspersions on Vidal for the inactives. That's just a numbers game. And they trusted Hassan Haskins more on special teams at that point, which I thought was kind of surprising. There we go. Go Lions.
Ooh, it's a good time to be a Lions fan.
Really? Like imagine, like I have some friends who are Lion fans, lifelong Lion fans. They are in my texts constantly, like during games and when they're never in my texts forever and just like enjoying it. talks to me about the importance or, something that I think is a bigger deal than people realize or make of it. The combination of a coach and a GM being the difference makers. And I think that's what we're seeing in Detroit. I think we're seeing it in Houston. I think we're seeing it in Minnesota. Where are you at on that? And like, is that the thing that's going to fix Jacksonville when they get the right combination of that, or the Jets, or any of these teams that have been struggling?
No, I think pairing a coach and a GM from an outside perspective looking in, like it makes all the sense in the world. You want a coach that is going to enact the culture, and you want a GM that's going to bring in guys that are like fit the culture. Imagine if you had a boss that was working at a job and somebody else hires somebody and the boss hates him immediately. I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. Like, that guy's never going to see the field. He's never going to make a difference. So now you get this coach and this GM that are on the same page, going the same direction, and want a specific skill set to fit a specific role on the team. That should be very basic, but for some reason we continue to do this little coaching and GM carousel, which ends up pretty disappointing for a lot of fans.
Jason Williams had a question in here as we started the program, so I wanted to get to this because it is the running back situation here, and we're going to get to a couple more running backs that we want to discuss here. But drop Isaiah Davis or Braylon Allen for Sincere McCormick.
Off the bat, I would, if you need a starter this week, you can drop Isaiah Davis, pick up Sincere McCormick, plug him in as your RB2, and pray.
Yeah, looking at the list, I mean, I could see why this is an issue because Kamara looks like he's locked in. Although, if Kendre Miller becomes a limiting factor, my head will implode. But Bucky in question, Brees uncertain. I think Tracy's in a pretty good spot, and I think this is not like this is an okay matchup this week, right? I want to say
they're playing the Ravens, so the Ravens' run defense has been different since Mike McDaniel has left. But I want to look up specifically Tyrone Tracy's game log. So they did put him in the doghouse for a little bit following that fumble.
He's out now.
He is out, and it's a favorable-ish matchup, and it's another quarterback that wants to check the ball down tremendously. I don't think you're starting Allen or McCormick over Tracy
or Dowdle.
Or Dowdle. Who did the Cowboys play this week? Let me pull that up.
Cowboys are playing. Dallas is
the
playing
Panthers. You're starting Dowdle.
You're starting Dowdle. He's running back one.
We're on the same page. It's just go ahead, start Dowdle.
Yeah. So it would be Kamara and Dowdle. Kamara doesn't have a horrible matchup either, does he? I wanted to say New Orleans. I was looking at Washington.
It is. Yep.
So it's fine matchup. So I mean, you're going to be fine this week if we're looking at depth, Jason, for the rest of the season. I mean, I would hope that Bucky's going to be fine. I think Reese is the piece you're going to lose. So I would probably hang on to Braylon Allen. I don't want to know if I want both of those guys. So the half point, maybe that shades me a little more towards Allen. Although this week the pass, I think that's kind of where I'd be at. And Patrick Taylor, I'm kind of with Mike on this one. I'm not sure he's going to be the guy beyond some period this week. And maybe he has a great game and makes us both feel silly about it. But I agree with everything Mike said about it. He's not fast enough. He's none of the things that Kyle Shanahan wants. And
he's going to be in a bunch for pass pro. And that's about it.
All right. So there are a couple other running backs that we had in mind. Sean Tucker, Kendre Miller, who we mentioned. Either of those appeal to you. Sean Tucker only if you're a Bucky Irvin investor, or even at that, is that too deep of a pull?
I think it's a fine pull. With Bucky missing time, they've tried to move to this hot hand approach, and Rachaad White has never had a hot hand, so maybe Sean Tucker gets a little more run.
All right. And Kendre Miller, again, seems more like a limiting factor to me for Alvin Kamara than anything, but maybe he's the handcuff now. Is that a fair assessment?
I completely agree.
All right. So there we have that. By the way, if you just tuned in, I'm Bob Harris. Hi. Damn glad to meet you. It's Mike Kashuba. He is the new guy at Football Guys. So you talked about the article you're writing. Tell us again what you've got upcoming and what when it's going to be out.
Yeah, so we're doing start sits this week. So I'm going to try to sift through the 49ers backfield. And then Dave gave me a couple other things to sift through and tell you, should you start them, should you not? It should be up on the site Thursday before kickoff starts. So that'll help you make your decisions. Footballguys.com. Check it out there.
It's a website. It's a great site.
I've
been there before. It's fantastic. All kinds of stuff there, including I just did my rankings. So my initial rankings for this week. Always exciting. We'll talk about those on Saturday. Let's get into the wide receiver room here and see what we got. Blue's list is short. We have a couple more pieces. Josh Palmer Does he have value if Lad McConkey's back to you?
No. I think so. Here's the thing with Josh Palmer. There's one of these guys on every team. He is a deep threat that he's going to catch a touchdown or two. Sometime throughout the season, we're all going to rush to pick him up. Maybe he catches another touchdown because he plays with Justin Herbert. It's a great offense. And like, I want guys that are going to catch passes from Justin Herbert. But the real thing I want to hit on here is that Will Disley is going to be out. So if he is out, maybe they move Palmer more into the intermediate game. Maybe we get some Stone Smart love. I know that'll make Coop Fiasco get some love.
But, Stone Cold Smart.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Josh Palmer. It's deep flex if you need. You're just praying for a touchdown, which is a fair prayer.
Right. I mean, at this point in time, but is that any different than Tim Patrick to you?
No, so some of my notes on Tim Patrick, he's quietly on the field as much as Jameson Williams. A lot of that's because he's a better run blocker,
right?
Veteran that knows where he needs to be. But again, if you need a touchdown, which is what we're talking about with some of these deep flex plays, he's quietly been their number 2 wide receiver in the red zone in the past month and a half. He's getting more targets than Jameson Williams. He's getting similar targets to Sam Laporta. Like, it's just behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. And again, I want the red zone option in a good offense, and it's not 2001. Detroit's a good offense.
Right. I got to tell this. So in the Kings Classic, not the one where Matt Harmon just destroyed me flat out, I was playing JJ Zacharyson, and his team was a mess, right? He was just like, he got week 14, right? So he had to play Tim Patrick, and he did, and he got his 22 points. But he also had to play Jonathan Brooks, who got him like -3.
-0.3. Yep.
Yeah, play a number of players who did nothing. So I go into Monday night up by about, I want to say 35 points. And then he had Jamar Chase. And he ran me down.
That's tough.
It was like ripping my heart out. It was brutal.
Yeah.
This is the nature of the fantasy football game we all love so much. So some of the other options. Adam Thielen is a player I like an awful lot. I feel like too much, so I'm going to step back and let you go.
Yeah. Notes here. Very short, very simple. Old man still got it. So
feels like me. That's why I like him so much.
Yeah, we love it. He was the wide receiver 1 for this team all through 2023, and then, dealt with some injuries because it's hard to get running when you are 100 years old. Now he gets out there, misses a little bit of time this year, comes back, immediately sits back into the number 1. We were just talking about Bryce Young. We think that he's turned it around a little bit. We're excited about him. If he continues on this trajectory with some of these good matchups, like Thielen might not be a week 15 play. He might be week 15, week 16, week 17. Now you get to tell the story of how you started Adam Thielen over Deebo Samuel, and you won a fantasy championship.
Right. If we felt like last week was maybe a tough matchup, because it was, right? Like, I thought he acquitted himself quite well. So did Bryce Young, by the way. So did Chuba Hubbard, who he keeps doing that in tough matchups. I'm telling you, this whole Bryce Young thing. And by the way, this is my usual weekly reminder that Adam Thielen was wide receiver 18 last year, playing with Bryce Young every game but one. It was a fantastic season. They have a connection. I think even early this year, the target shares, even with Deontay Johnson dominating the workload, were still sufficient, but not like last year's. And now I think they'll go back up, because it turns out Xavier Legette does not catch all his passes. So I'm told.
Man, that's tough.
That is tough. Jalen McMillan, real or mirage?
I vote mirage. As far as looking, this might be another portion where we're chasing touchdowns here. He hasn't even been a top 2 option on the offense, even after Godwin went down. So I would use caution if I'm starting Jalen McMillan. I don't think that he's the kind of guy that you're pulling him in and you're excited to start him. If you need to start 5 or 6 flexes because you play in a really deep dynasty league, I get it.
Correct. I think that is it. Don't get too taken in by these guys. But if you're in a horrible position, hopefully no one's in that horrible position. Like, again, the buys are over, people. You're going to have all your pieces back unless there's been just some brutal attrition. And in some cases, I mean, you could have some super bad luck and be in a bad spot for sure. But hopefully that's not where you are, and you're not forced to chase those touchdowns. As Mike said, that's never a good idea. Can we revisit QB, says Adam Cawthorn? Sure.
Of course.
We can do that.
We would love to.
Gino or Winston? So, like, we're not here to talk about starters, but just generally speaking, like, how do you feel about Geno Smith?
I think Geno Smith is playing at a top 10 quarterback level in the NFL. Unfortunately, for fantasy points, it's not quite there because he's not getting the volume that we expect. They love running the ball with Zach Charbonnet. They love running the ball with Kenneth Walker, who might be back this week. We're still trying to sift through that. Jameis Winston, it's a McDonald's thing. You're just getting 100 burgers. You're eating all of them. You feel kind of gross after, but you got all the calories you need. So
right, and you don't care if he throws some to the other team. Oh, look at here, Kluge's in here dropping Tua in his home league. What's the matter with that? He got him.
Tua. I mean, do you have to?
I would like. So this is the thing about Goff, right? Like Goff is a tough call because they're going to be the huge games, and then they're going to be the running back games, right? Like, I'm probably not bailing on Tua. What's the schedule look like?
So Tua is playing the Houston Texans, and Goff is playing the Buffalo Bills. Matchup on paper, it sounds like Tua's is nicer, but maybe they do have to air it out to keep up with Josh Allen. I don't know. It's tough.
I'm probably sticking with Tua. I mean, that's just my gut tells me. Just go
with your hunch.
I think Tua's had some big games. It's not even a hunch. It's just been consistently solid since he's come back from the injury, regardless of matchup. It's ever since they went to the great Jonnu Smith as the leading piece of this offense. Everything has fallen into place.
Yeah. I agree. Tua has looked better, and I did just pull up the Lions schedule, so they get the Bears next week, the 49ers.
Oh, Dave wants to pick up. Yeah, Dave, pick him up.
Go get Tua. Enjoy the Dolphins offense, although check the thermometer. If it's below 30 degrees, find someone else.
Right. It's funny because it's, we talk about this. This is a thing Mike Dempsey came up with on the radio show the other night. And we've only been doing this 20 years together, and we finally worked up this analogy. If there's two guys that you can't decide between, 2 and 17 concerns Royal Slate. Two guys you can't decide between. Write their names on a piece of paper, drop them in a bag, shake it up, pull it out, and say that's the guy I'm starting. If you can't feel good about it, it's the other guy, right? It's that simple. Like you got to put yourself down to the hard and fast decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably do that. Although Royal Slate, what does the schedule look like? I pulled up the schedule and then I went away
for the Dolphins or for the Lions.
For the Dolphins, you look the Lions. I'll check the Dolphins because I think I was heading there, and I just gave it up because Tua has been rolling. So we've got the Texans, 49ers, and Browns coming up.
All middle of the road opportunities. So
yeah, they don't frighten me, and they don't chase me off. What does Goff have?
But it's in Cleveland in
December.
Goff has Bears, 49ers, Vikings after the Bills this week.
See, I should know to trust Royal. He would know about the icy weather. But it seems to affect the tacklers more than the offense.
I just get John the ball in space and let him roll.
Yep, there's the Royal Slade coming in with the capper on that.
There it is.
Yes. The coin is in midair when you really want. All right, let's go look. Let's get to the tight ends really quick, and we'll come back around to some questions.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Dave. Hunter Henry's the only guy on his list. If he's available in your league, I don't know why you wouldn't want to have him, right?
Yes, he is the best receiver on the offense. A team that is rolling out Kayshon Boutte, and KJ Osborne just got cut and is looking for a new home. If Osborne couldn't get on the field and he was already probably their best receiver, things are tough there. So it's Hunter Henry. Drake May rules. I love Drake May. I can just talk about Drake May for the next 20 minutes if you want.
Well, give me 5. No, give me 2 minutes on Drake May.
Yeah. They just took Justin Herbert, made a little clone, and they made him just absolutely fearless. So he's making throws through contact. He's making guys miss. He's running more than we want him to. I kind of wish he would slide every once in a while, but he's truly the only thing exciting about the New England Patriots offense. So everything that Drake May touches turns to gold, which includes Hunter Henry in the red zone.
Hunter Henry's 18% target share, by the way.
Oh yeah,
leading the team. That's the thing for me. It's the volume. I do like Drake May. I kind of liked him coming in. I thought it would be a longer process because didn't come from the same kind of structured offense that Alex Van Pelt runs, where you've got to be the timing and having your feet in the right place and doing all those things. Seems like he's done really well, and also he runs really well. I didn't put together the Justin Herbert comparison, but I do like it. He's going to be he's going to be a guy that I'll be looking for next year because the price will be right. But they got to put pieces around him. Do they have enough to build some offensive line and add a receiving asset? Do you trust some of the young receivers that they have, whether it's Jalen Polk or Javon Baker, to turn into things?
Yeah, so that's tough because I did like Javon Baker a lot coming out. I thought that he had the dog in him. He was exciting. We were all fired up to watch him play, and then he decided to just continue to get in trouble. So
the dog is a chihuahua.
Yep. If he ever gets on the field and gets meaningful opportunities, maybe he can show something, but he needs to get that head on straight a little bit first. In the meantime, I think Polk probably dust, which makes me really excited for what Michael Penix can do. And I think in this offseason, we can look at him take either a wide receiver or a tackle extremely highly in the draft and then use their very early second-round pick to do the same thing. Maybe they trade back and they get a quarterback-hungry team to leapfrog them and they get some extra darts in the draft.
That seems reasonable enough. And so that to me is the thing for all these, for the Patriots. Do they have enough firepower? Royal Slade, I'm sure, has chimed in. I'm going to get to the bottom of the chat to see his thoughts. Royal, what can they do to fix this? He's not there yet. What can they do to fix this? What's going to be the plan? Drake May does rule. I like this guy. All right, you've heard a big fan. That was easy. So what do they need to do, Royal, to get in there? We'll go back to the rest of our tight ends while you're pondering that incredible question. Then we'll get back to all the rest of these questions. So the rest of our guys, Juwan Johnson and Grant Calcaterra. I think Juwan Johnson to me is a dart toss player, right?
Yep. I would throw my dart somewhere else. I don't want anything to do with the New Orleans offense without Derek Carr. It's Jake Haener this week. I'm good.
What if it's Spencer Rattler? No, I'm sorry.
Well, that would be fun, but I'm still good.
I'm still good too. And Grant Calcaterra is in a vast sea of mediocrity at this position, he would at least have a role. I don't know. Probably not for me, but I think I could see playing him if you were in a horrible bind. But I just can't imagine you not having other options.
If you get a surprise late game inactive from somebody you're really excited to play,
he's a pivot.
That's a good pivot option. But otherwise, tight ends, they're tough every year. This year, it feels even worse.
All right. We'll get some questions now. I know you've all been waiting patiently to get to these defensive questions that are so important. Hold Arizona defense or drop them for KC, Atlanta, Washington, New York Jets, or Denver. I don't know. Without knowing scores, I mean, Arizona's been playing reasonably well. They didn't last week. You got any thoughts on that defense in particular?
Arizona, so they have a special place in my heart. Kaiser White, I went to high school with him, and we played football from the time we were in basically pull-ups. He's their defensive captain, and he rules. They play the Patriots, the Panthers, and then you can probably drop them for Week 17 against the Rams. I think there's two matchups that you're excited to play them with that it's tough to find in a row.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Denver is interesting to me. I think just in general, I like that defense, but KC. I mean, I think for me, probably I like Washington this week for the opponent, right? They're playing New Orleans. So as a general rule of thumb, here's my general rule of thumb. Harris's first law of defensive dart tosses is who's the quarterback they're playing against.
Yep.
And in Washington's case, it's going to be the aforementioned Jake Haener. Atlanta, it's going to be Desmond Ridder. So I would not feel horrible about that either. So some of these depend on your scoring system. So I don't want to get too deep on defenses because we don't know the scoring system that well.
Here's the tough thing I was going to say, I always love to chase the opposing quarterback. I want to go chase who's playing Desmond Ridder. Unfortunately, they played the Falcons, the Jags, and the Saints, who are three also terrible defenses. So hard, just very, very tough to be chasing Desmond Ridder because maybe he accidentally has a good game.
Let's see, Bob. It is week 15. What will we do in 3 more weeks? We'll play DFS in the postseason like civilized humans do. Come on, man.
And then after the postseason's over, you'll start drafting teams on Underdog and have a great time with that.
So the best ball rooms open in February, people. I will be in them. Mike will probably be joining me. We'll drag the others in there as well. Well, some of them we won't drag. Kluge will be waiting for us. Good news. Lester has made the subscriber contest. I have it on good authority, and Lester is my authority on this, that Lester Freeman is going to win the subscriber contest.
Well, he's listening to this, so he's going to.
I'm being told that I will, in fact, be starting at running back for the 49ers this week. Thank you, not JB's grandma. Good to see you. Happy to come. Happy you could make it. Yes, as we talked about, Jimmy, I don't know if you caught it when we were talking about it, but I think Mike and I both, like other players, Israel Abanikanda seems like more of a one-for-one match. But we don't know. If Isaac Guerrero comes back, what do you think of Isaac Guerrero? Just like, is he totally plug and play it? I felt like going into last week's game, and I wrote this up in my In and Out article last week, that he looks like the guy who could come right in and give you same thing Jordan Mason did, the same thing Christian McCaffrey did. Not the real Christian McCaffrey, the diminished one we saw for his 4 games. They were both solid running back 2s with running back 1 potential. I think that's exactly what we saw in Isaac Guerrero. Let's say he only misses a week.
Yeah, as soon as he comes back, you're probably plugging him right back in and just hoping that he gets the same workload. I think the floor could completely fall out there because Shanahan loves to just start the new shiny thing, and maybe Izzy gets some run this week and we get excited about him. But Izzy Abanikanda, Isaac Guerrero, they're almost clones of each other. They're really fast. They're big enough to make everything work, and they can just run in a straight line exactly where San Francisco needs them to. So whoever gets the majority of touches is going to be extremely valuable. If Guerrero comes back, it gets messy.
Darren Denker has a problem. He has to decide between. I don't know how bad of a problem this is. I think this is an easy call for me. Is it an easy call for you, Mike Kashuba?
It feels like an easy call. I hope this is Tank Bigsby. If it's Tank Dell, it gets a little bit harder. But I'm going to say Tank Bigsby. I'm going to start Tank Bigsby. I think he is the better player, and both offenses are very bad. So,
yeah, I feel like with Desmond Ridder coming in, just the offense being on schedule. I hate to say this. I think Mac Jones has a better chance of keeping the Jaguars on schedule than Desmond Ridder does keeping the Raiders on schedule.
I think that's one of the only 2 offenses you can say that about.
So, and actually looking at the week ahead, I have any team versus New Orleans. I think that's a fair assessment, Jeff. I think that's exactly what I would do. I'd be chasing just like Mike framed it perfectly. Chasing the quarterback. That's what I've been doing for a long time since I've been doing this. And by the way, if you don't know, I am Bob Harris. He is Mike Kashuba. He is the newest football guy. I'm a newer, kind of newish football guy. Yeah. You can hear me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 p.m. to midnight. You can hear me Saturdays, 8 to 11 on Fantasy Channel and the NFL Channel. It's a simulcast, people. It's very technologically advanced. And Sundays on the pregame show with Jeff Mans from 11 to 1. You can also catch me here every Tuesday night right in the spot with a great guest like tonight, Mike Kashuba. He is the new guy. He's got a nice article coming out this week. Tell him again what you got coming.
Yep, it's a start-sit article. It's going to be my very first one for Football Guys. I'm going to be sifting through the San Francisco backfield and a couple of other hot-button options, and that'll be over at footballguys.com. That's where I find my snap shares. That's where I find my target shares. That's where I find all of my stats to do all of my rankings. Go to footballguys.com. It's a website.
Tons of stuff. It's a fantastic website. You can get the daily email updates sent to you free every day. Me, Bloom, Cecil Lammy cooking up the news, Joe Bryant mailing it out. Tons of good articles and other content in that as well. You can't miss it. The Fantasy Football Channel. We're on the Audible channel right now. You know that. The Fantasy Football Channel, you'll see Kluge and Alfredo and their crew. On the Dynasty Channel, Jeff Bell, Jagger May, and that bunch doing all their goodness. So tons of great content. No shortage of. Go ahead.
Real quick, hop over to the Dynasty Channel. We just talked about 4 quarterbacks that you should be excited about for this draft. I'm not excited about all 4 of them, but you can hear us compare them Minshew. So
I heard
glowing the Football Guys reviews. Dynasty Channel. It's fun stuff.
I heard glowing reviews.
It's nothing but exciting. Yeah.
Thielen over Tank Dell and Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. This is not a start-sit show, Steve, but we're going to do this anyway.
Oh, that's spicy. Listen. You're supposed to dance with the date that you brought, but I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. brought you there. I don't think Tank Dell brought you there. I think Adam Thielen can get you all the way that you need to go. I'm going to start Adam Thielen, and I'm going to feel weird about it.
I don't want to, promote things outside the channel, but Matt Malman and I do a podcast every Monday. I can't say the name of it, or Joe Bryant will come personally kick my tail. But
sorry, Joe.
If you go check that podcast out at Matt Wallman's website, you will find mattwallman.com. You will find an in-depth discussion of what's going on with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. From Matt Wallman that would be illuminating on this. I'm not against what Mike just suggested.
Yep.
All right.
I just wish that Marvin Harrison Jr. was 3 inches shorter, and I think that's what Matt said.
All right, Jim, we're going to help you out a little bit. How do you come on now? If I told you to sit Joe Mixon, Jim, you wouldn't do it. I hope you would destroy me. So Mixon is one. Who else?
Let's talk about who's going to play this week. So he has to play 2 in a flex. You have 3 players that may not play this week. So
makes it a little easier.
Play whichever ones play. Hope that helps.
So it's probably going to be Pacheco for sure. But let's say Bucky is like questionable and playing. Like, do you have a stance as you go into games like, look, these guys are pretty even. I'm just playing the one who's healthy.
Yes, I think. What are the kickoff times for each of these? That's probably an important thing to know.
I got
because if there's a difference in kickoff. Well, here's the thing. 49ers play on Thursday. You're going to know if Garendo is playing before anybody else.
Yeah.
So,
and like here, how about this? Do you play Garendo knowing he's hurt on a Thursday night, knowing he's like something less than 100% on a Thursday night when you have at least 2 solid options waiting for you? But he does need a flex here.
I would find a different flex off of the waiver wire, like go find some of those wide receivers. Maybe old man Adam Thielen still available. But I'm cautious to play Bucky coming off a back injury. I know back injuries are tricky. Sometimes you're Michael Pittman and you say you're going on IR and then you score a touchdown. Sometimes you just fade into the mist for a while. It's going against a tough Chargers defense. I think I'm very cautious with Bucky this week. So if you make me start one of them, I'm going to start Garendo knowing he's healthy, then stay and wait.
Nick Westbrook-Akini will let one go through his hands this week. Would have been a touchdown. Didn't get many targets, but we would be having a whole different conversation if we decided the bubble is burst, or is he still a thing, but a dangerous thing, and you should realize that when you handle him.
He is a very dangerous thing. I think if you are, the favorite, you're just looking for 8 to 10 points in your flex spot to make sure that you keep your favorite status. Nick Westbrook-Akini is not the guy. But if you're a severe underdog, go throw NWI in there. Like, have some fun with it.
All right. So here's a chance for me to, I wrote last week, the anti-Debo hill is the hill I will fight on. And I am here to continue that fight. I fought it last week and was correct once again. Dude is like wide receiver 70-ish over the last 4 games. It's averaging 5 points a game. What do you do? I clicked the wrong thing. I was so excited about the Debo question. What are you doing with Debo before I lose that one and we get onto this one?
I think if you have a chance to upgrade somewhere else, like throw him on your bench and just wait and see if he comes back to form. But as it stands now, like you're not starting him with confidence. You're not starting him unless you really need to. So if you do need to cut him to make room for somebody with a known role, I get it.
I think like there are 2 49er, well, 3, I guess, that I'm playing without fail. I'm going to play Juwan Jennings, the wide receiver 1 on that team. I'm going to play George Kittle every week because he's probably better than most of the options I would possibly have at tight end. And I'm going to play Brock Purdy if I have him and I don't have other options.
That's completely fair. I agree with it.
All right.
It just stinks that we drafted Debo so high.
Not all of us. Debo next year will be interesting. I think that's a fair question. I think there's a lot, like you go out and catch up with Grant Cohen at SI.com. Always has some interesting thoughts on the 49ers.
Yeah. I know. I was going to say earlier, we were talking about how to fix the Patriots. Trade for Debo Samuel, sign T. Higgins, draft an offensive tackle at 1 or 2 or 3, wherever they draft. Like now you're putting together a pretty good offense.
I think it's a starting point, though. I mean, you can build through the draft. You can add a free agent or 2. That makes perfect sense. Also makes perfect sense to go to footballguys.com for all your fantasy football needs. We've got it all there, including Mike's article coming up on Thursday, my article coming up Thursday, the notebook, Friday, the polarizing players with Gary Davenport, Saturday, the in and out, and every morning, the Football Guys daily update with me and Mike Dempsey, giving you 10 minutes of just the news you need. Listen to us on the radio, do all that stuff. Like us before you leave. Mike, thanks so much. Great to have you here. Expect to have you on more over the course of the offseason because we never stop. We're degenerates like that. And it's great getting to spend a little time with you and look forward to working with you, man.
Yeah, it's an absolute blast. Thanks so much for having me on. Again, head over to footballguys.com. It's a website, and I will be writing there now, which I am over the moon about. It's a great organization, and I hope all of you guys start Nick Westbrook-Akini and he scores a touchdown for you.
Or 2. All right, we're out.